Welcome back. Welcome to today's training video. I know I said with one of the others it was my favorite topic, but I think this might really be my favorite topic. I'm Alexandra Stockwell. I'm a physician and an intimate marriage expert, and today I'm going to talk to you about everyday eroticism. I'm going to start by taking you back into my own marriage. It's much easier to talk about my own marriage than all of my clients because of confidentiality. So I used to be such a private person and not share anything, but I came to understand how important it is for us to learn with and from one another and have frank conversations. So here I am sharing about my own marriage. So as I said in one of the other videos, the first 10 years of my marriage, it was good, but I never would have used the word passionate to describe it. It was intimate in the sense of collaborative, but not in a juicier sense. And then I learned how to have a really fantastic, extraordinary, delicious marriage. My husband and I learned that. And then I was like, wait a minute. I don't want to just feel this good and this connected when I'm done with work, and my husband is done with work, and the kids are in bed, and the house is picked up, and the kitchen's cleaned, and everything is attended to, and we both happen to have enough energy to not just fall asleep. I don't want to wait until all those criteria have been met in order to feel passionate and erotically alive. Like, I've learned how to create this with my magnificent husband, and we've been married now for 15 years, 20 years. I don't want to just compartmentalize these wonderful experiences when everything else has been taken care of. On the other hand, I am a professional. I am an appropriate person. I am not interested in making my home into some kind of a hippie commune. I want to be like a regular suburban mother and do my work. So how is this all going to work? And if you've read my book, the story I'm about to tell is going to sound familiar to you, because I had a day where all of this came together for me. My 4 kids were playing in the living room. The home that we lived in then had an open floor plan. So they were there and they were loud, and I was feeling frustrated and annoyed, and I was cooking dinner, and my husband wasn't home from work yet. And I was sauteing onions, and it had been a long day, and I had it, and I was feeling, dehydrated and like a martyr in my own life, and just sauteing those onions, moving the wooden spatula on the cast iron pan to get those onions cooked. And it was like the one place that my resentment and frustration was coming out. And I suddenly realized that those onions were going to cook just the same if I was pushing them around the pan in my pain and frustration, or if I breathed a little bit more deeply and I started rotating my hips and I moved my wooden spatula around that pan. The onions were going to cook the same either way. But in my shifting to actually enjoy the experience, and the aroma of those onions now felt so lovely, and I felt good in my body and kind of sexy and turned on while I was just cooking the onions, sauteing the onions for dinner. And I felt like a whole new world opened up, and I saw how good I could feel during mundane tasks, no matter what was happening. And I went on and got rid of my frumpy apron and got a functional French maid's apron, and realized how much more fun I could have really in every aspect of my life. And when I sat down to serve dinner that evening, in this frame of mind, I realized that the 6 of us are at the table. My husband and I have 4 children. And I just became aware that all the time when we would sit down to dinner, I would either ignore my husband, not giving him the cold shoulder. There wasn't anything problematic, but just that the children needed my attention. And so I interacted with them because my husband's a grown up, he can take care of himself. And so I just didn't have my attention on him. Or I would have my attention on him in a way where I just was feeling appreciative and connected because he's the co-parent and the 2 of us are raising our children together. And that's how I interacted with him. And honestly, that feels good. Like, that's a wonderful feeling to have, but it's not sexy. It's not erotic, and it didn't have me feeling like a woman. And so this evening at dinner, for the first time, I thought, what happens if I feel like a woman, a sexy, sensual woman, and I look at my handsome husband, my lover, and see him that way? I continued to serve the chicken and the broccoli. Nobody knew that I was doing this experiment. Everything was totally appropriate. But I realized how much better I felt. And what I found so interesting is that my children were calmer. I think I had the thought or the worry, kind of a taboo, that if I had attention on my marriage in this juicy way, that first of all, it was taboo and somehow the children would feel neglected. I'm not entirely sure what all I had been believing before, but I don't believe it anymore, because when my husband and I have that kind of an extremely discreet vibe, the children are calmer, the conversation is more interesting. My husband actually spoke more. He tended to be kind of quiet at meal times, and he felt more alive. And so I've coined the term everyday eroticism. And that to me is the most important thing to keep the spice in our marriage, because instead of compartmentalizing that part of our relationship, it gets to be present anytime we want it to be, in any context, whether we're discussing the logistics of who's picking up which child from where, when we're having dinner, if we're going to do a renovation on the house, or we're having a talk about something more intimate, or just daydreaming together, like literally, or an argument, whatever it is that we are interacting about. I don't want my sexual self to be dead for that conversation. It's not always the primary part of myself being expressed, but it is always present. And if you want to hear more about life in this lane, and you want to know how to bring everyday eroticism into your own marriage, definitely click on the link below. Join me in the Aligned and Hot Marriage Live program. I can't wait for all of your ahas, insights, revelations, and joy. There is so much more to learn, and I am really excited to teach it to you.